Grab your cup. I want to share with you one thing that would make a huge difference in relationships if you could get out in front of it at the beginning of a relationship, or if you notice that you're stuck in cycles in relationships and you kind of end up in these same patterns, or you've been in one relationship for a long time and there's a pattern within that relationship. This is one thing that I think is so important, and I wish I had learned a lot earlier about looking at before that relationship really gets going, or it's going to give you a lot of information about how that relationship's going to get going. And that is, how do you operate under stress? How do you personally operate when there's a difficult situation to deal with? How does your partner operate? Because the tools that you have and the ability that you have together to manage stressful situations is going to tell a lot about how that relationship's going to feel to be in and how successful it's going to be. So what do I mean by that? You know, when things are going easy, when everything's great and everybody's just in the love of everything, we don't have to worry so much because we just are experiencing all the best of each other. But when there's an issue, when there's a conflict, when something comes up, how we share that with each other, how we resolve it or don't resolve it together, that's going to really tell you about the connection of that relationship and what the probable future will be without doing the work to change those tools. To my mind, there's loving each other, and then there's relationship tools. And they really have very little to do with each other, because love is really a state of being. In fact, you bring love yourself rather than look for love from someone else, but that'll be a different cup conversation. But the relationship tools that you have is either going to support that love or be driven from the love, or the relationship tools that you have are coming from wounded past experiences. Very often your childhood experiences of what you saw your parents do or what was allowed and accepted in your household for you to do. Most of the time, those are the relationship tools that we bring. We just keep bringing them to the next relationship, or we keep using them over and over, not really realizing that those are the things that can break down relationships. So, some important things to look at. Number one, how do my partner and I communicate? Because the problematic communication skills are things like blaming each other, things like turning it around. Well, I wouldn't have had to do that if you didn't do this, or instead of really hearing what the other person's experience is and being able to say, oh, kind of like from just being curious, oh, what was it like for you? What is this like for you? Oh, I don't really understand that, or that wasn't my experience, but I can listen to yours, which is very different than, you must have a problem. So communication skills are things like blaming, turning it around on the other person, or just shoving it under the rug. I don't want to talk about that. Why are we going over this? Those are all tools that we got, or lack of tools that we got from how we saw other people. And a powerful way to communicate is to sit in curiosity and to not take it personally, hear the other person's experience, and then say, okay, this was my experience, and now together, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because that's really the opportunity of every conflict. You can see it as adversarial, or you can see it as an opportunity for us to figure it out together. And when you do that, you actually grow closer. Another thing to look at and you'll really see it when stress comes up, is emotional regulation. How well do you regulate your emotions? So do you immediately, react in anger? Do you shut down when you're feeling uncomfortable emotions? Do you take yourself away and isolate? Do you, the emotions and the communication are going to be very tied together, because how well you regulate your emotions will very often determine how you're going to be able to communicate. So you want to make sure that you get your emotions regulated first, and so does the other person, so that the communication can come from remembering that we love each other rather than all the other things I already talked about. Another thing that people will have difficulty doing in stressful situations is allowing themselves to be vulnerable. And that's a pattern that can show up in stress or even just in the relationship on a regular day-to-day basis. Vulnerability is the ability to let your guard down, to share your heart and open your heart, to not feel like you need to be in control all the time, but you actually can be vulnerable. And vulnerability is key to a successful relationship. Someone who doesn't allow themselves to be vulnerable is going to be difficult to be close with. So, and you'll really see that again when stress comes up. Can I manage my stress and allow myself to stay vulnerable to what you're thinking or to what we need to deal with? Another way that you're going to see stress impact relationships is how people attach to each other. And that absolutely comes from your earliest childhood experiences. So if I have an attachment style, if I feel very needy, that's a particular style of attachment. I need reassurance from you. I need to have you. I'm worried all day. What did that text mean when they said that? How come I haven't heard from them? It's been over an hour. That's like a needy attachment style. Or you might have an attachment style, or your partner, and very often this is what happens, a more needy attachment style will show up with a more distant attachment style. And that's somebody who makes themselves distant, right? So they kind of disappear. They need a lot of alone time. And again, you really see this more when there are stressful situations. And that's going to give you a lot of information of how successful will this relationship be. Those attachment styles that got formed when we're very, very young because our parents made themselves either very available or they weren't available. And then based on that, as children, we had our experience of what we need to do. Oh, I'm on my own. I'm just going to be detached and I'm going to be a little more isolating and deal with things myself rather than share what I'm dealing with. Or I need to keep figuring out how to get your attention and how to get myself to be able to attach with you. Those patterns can be broken. All of these patterns can be shifted and transformed. How you regulate your emotions, your communication style, and your ability to hear each other and speak from love rather than from anger or from protection or from control. The ability to be vulnerable and the way that you attach, but you have to do the inner work to make that happen. Not everybody's willing to do the inner work, so that's another thing to look at. So if you've had patterns where you keep winding up with people, or you yourself keep showing up, trying to make things better for them, trying to figure it all out, if I just do more, if I can just get acknowledgement here, they'll see I'm the one. They'll see I'm the one because I keep doing this. If that's been your pattern, then, and you're willing to do the work, then you might want to consider, what do I have to do to heal? What is there to heal? Use it all as an opportunity. Like sit back and go, oh, I'm so glad that has showed up because now I have more information about what I need to do that's going to make my life go better. And if you don't know how to do that, that's exactly the work that we do. So we would love to talk with you. Just drop talk in the comments and I'll make sure that we clear our schedule and set up a time where we can have a free conversation about all of that and however it's showing up in your life. Okay? Have a good day.